everybody, this is Landscape Designing 101 with Mr. Taylor, and this is something that started as one of my supervised agriculture experience projects when I was in high school, and I've always enjoyed working on my parents' landscaping, and it spilled over into relatives and some friends, and my ag teacher offered me a chance to work with him and his family and crew out at Mill Home Nurseries and Greenhouses, and that further evolved my love for horticulture and landscape design, installation, and maintenance. So just a few of the things that I use when I'm at home helping my family and other friends across the state of Wisconsin with their different landscape designs are several of these tools that you see laying out here in front of me. The first one I'd like to mention is an eraser shield. So if I make any little mistakes, I have a chance to erase it without having to disrupt any of the other lines and design elements on the paper. I have a protractor. I have several different types of triangles. I have my circle template. I have a template that has all different types of shrubs and patio block, hedges, line shapes, a whole bunch of French curves, and my fancy French curves are actually back in O'Connell Falls right now in my safe that I was graciously given them by my grandma from her dad when he was an engineer. And I have my engineering ruler to do different scaling, several different types of pencils and an eraser, and off to the side of the camera here you can't see, but I have different types of markers and colored pencils and crayons and black Sharpies, all different thicknesses to help with the design layout. I do have one of my favorite catalogs just as a quick reference guide. I try to keep everything up here in my brain, but once in a while I think the database gets a little full. So I do have my favorite Jung's catalog here just as a quick reference if I ever need to look at a perennial quick to refresh my memory of the color, the size, the shape. Does it need sun or shade? There's so many different plants to download and ingrain and memorize into our brains that once in a while I think some of that gets saved over and I have to refresh myself. So I always keep that nearby just in case. But it's amazing over time how many plants you really do get to have memorized in the back of your brain. It's like a little Rolodex or a little flip chart paper going through in the back as you start designing and pulling out different elements. So 2 weeks ago we looked at different elements of the design, one of them being texture. Each plant has different types of texture. Hardscapes have different types of texture. We have form. There's so many different types of shapes of plants, from whether they're annuals or they're perennials, shrubs, small trees, large trees, vines, turf, hardscapes, planters, other hardscapes, and it just goes on and on and on. Then we have different types of lines, and most of what we deal with in residential and commercial and industrial type landscaping is a lot of hard architectural lines, and landscaping tries to soften all of them with different curves and flow and eye appeal. And the other piece is color. For 6 months out of the year, everything in Wisconsin is white or brown or gray, and we have to rely on the natural color of what some of these plants might bring for 6 months out of the year. Then when we come to spring and summer and fall, we have a whole new complex arrangement of different colored leaves and flowers and twigs and buds, and you have to really take some time to soak all of that in and learn about these different plants and what they can do, because they can bring fascinating interest all throughout the year, no matter what season you're in. Then we get into all the different principles of design. We're looking at scaling, and we look at repetition in the landscape using odd numbers, 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, 11, 13, 15, and so on. We look at different emphasis points. What plant do we want to emphasize, or hardscape? We look at unity. Is the landscape unified throughout the entire property? We look at a variety of different types of plants. We look at balance. Is it balanced? There's formal balance and there's informal balance. along with sequencing different plants. So these are the elements of design and principles of design that we're going to work on. And to get us started, we just need to start drawing. So before I mess up one of my good pieces of paper, I'm going to move everything off to the side. And I'm going to bring a piece of computer paper over here just to do some sample drawing. So one of the things now is we're going to draw some different circles, and I'm going to have to decide whether these are going to be trees or shrubs or perennials. When I draw perennials, I like to put a dot where that plant is going to be. Now we're doing things in odd shapes, and then I can just draw a little space around them to kind of see where they're going to kind of take up. And that space, depending on the scale of your design, the space that they occupy on the design is going to be the space that they'll be at maturity. So perennials can mature in 3 to 5 years. That's typically when you start splitting them. And I want to show how big they're really going to be right away. Otherwise, it's very easy as a designer and a person that's trying to do a DIY project at home is to throw a whole bunch of plants real close together and then they overgrow themselves real quick. I can just draw a single perennial. Sometimes it's fun to have them blend into each other. You have a tall focal point perennial, a bed of 5 different types of coneflower, a tall grass, and in front I have a shorter geranium. Let's look at some shrubs. Now, depending on if it's a deciduous or a evergreen type shrub, I draw different types of lines. So if I just wanted to draw a deciduous shrub, you can put 1 dot in the center, or you can put 3 dots. Sometimes I do 5 or 6, depending if that shrub has multiple different stem arrangements. You can leave it as a circle. That's as simple as that. You can leave it as a circle. Or let's add some flair to it. I'm going to draw this one a little closer to the camera so you can see. And I like make a half moon crescent. I can flare this one back up. I can draw a line out. I always do things in like half curves. Little mini crescents, back and around. And if I wanted to, I could come back and take my little eraser and remove some of that outside line, giving a little more eye appeal on the page. Or maybe my OCD gets the best of me sometimes. Certain shrubs I always draw a certain way. That way when I look at a design, without even looking at the legend or key, I know exactly which plant that is. Okay. Drawing hedges. They're all going to be right in a row. More of a formal appearance. Creating some privacy or creating a boundary from an area. Depends if it's deciduous or if it's evergreen. I want to draw a big tree. Dot in the center where the trunk's going to be. And this is a deciduous tree. And eventually I can get right down to the very end. Kind of flare it out a little bit more. I always say the landscape is my canvas. I do love to draw. I do like things making them look prettier. And that circle template just helps you give a guide where the outside edge is. Sometimes I never even use the outside edge. In my brain already, I know where that outside edge is as I come around the plant. And this takes time. You're not going to get it immediately. If you do, great. But don't get discouraged. But those are deciduous. What about an evergreen? This one I do like to use my ruler or small straight edge. Basically, I like to use a lot of straight lines to indicate that it's an evergreen. Pretty simple like that. You can add an extra layer of complex to it. Now you're the designer, you see what you feel fit, and it is a work of art. It does have to make sense to you, it does have to make sense to the client. Let's try another one. That. It is fun drawing grouping of shrubs. Say we're drawing a group of yews. You have to have concept of shapes and centers of them. And because the circles are joined, it shows that they will kind of grow in together a little bit. How about a deciduous grouping? See all these different types. So I want you to practice drawing perennials. You know? Practice drawing a set of deciduous or an evergreen shrub. Practice drawing different types of evergreen trees or large shrubs. deciduous trees and large deciduous shrubs. There's all different types of methods to drawing them. And you can look on the internet to see what computer programs have, what other designers do, what do designs look like, and you start to find what works best for you. So here's the whole thing again, just so everyone can see. And I just practice that over and over and over and over again. So your assignment for today that I would like you to submit, and then you can send a picture of what you do. Make sure that you're in the picture, so have someone else in your family take a quick little snapshot of you doing it, and then a snapshot right over your different types of sample plants. If you feel like you're getting the hang of that and you want to add to it, to show me what else you can do with drawing, try creating a sidewalk with a different pattern. Okay? Take a look at different types of patterns for flagstone or brickwork. Have some fun. Just as a fun challenge. So thank you very much for watching my tutorial video today, and I look forward to seeing what some of your drawing skills look like. And stay tuned for Thursday. We're actually going to work on a design together. Thank you, and we'll talk again soon.